get rolling. Welcome all of you. I know there are people who continue to join us. We're really glad you're here. I know it's kind of a hectic time of year here, trying to get everything done before Thanksgiving, but we really wanted to come to you with the Community Counts Initiative 2023 and let you know what we have planned so that you can make your plans to join us for what is going to be a fabulous program in the year ahead. And Lisa, you can go ahead and move the slides forward. I want to recognize my team, Sally Hardy and Lisa Catile. Lisa's driving the car, Sally's monitoring chat. And I want to also recognize, if you're seeing on the right side, we have two consultancies joining us. We have folks from SCG Consultants, Cyrus White, Jerry Koch Gonzalez, and then we have from the Equity Project, Hannah Galgiani and Ariana Flores. So we've got parts of our program where they're going to be joining us, and you'll be able to hear from them directly. What you can expect today from this webinar is that we're going to go over the modules and components of the Community Counts Initiative 2023. We're going to start with the Circle of Engagement, which is NFCB's strategic framework tool. We're going to move to Dynamic Community Governance, one of the advanced modules we'll be introducing this year. And then Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, the second advanced module. And then we're going to end by talking about something that we're doing this year as part of Community Counts Initiative, the Public Safety Toolkit Hub. It's not a module, it's going to happen all year long, and you're going to hear more about that as well. We'll leave some time at the end to map out next steps and have a Q&A to wrap things up. And next, Lisa. Thank you. I want to talk about the program design very briefly. Our goal here is to make this program interactive. We've brought in top-tier consulting resources that we've been speaking with for months now, and we're just thrilled at what they're bringing to the table for all of you. And we're going to have one-on-one coaching accessible to NFCB member stations. Each component of the Community Counts Initiative 2023 includes opportunities to network and collaborate with similar stations in study groups, workshops, and meetups. And I want to talk about the logistics just a moment. These modules are staggered. That's to allow participation in one or more programs. I want to say right from the outset that if you have never been through Community Counts Initiative in the cohort before, you will need to go through the Circle of Engagement module in the very beginning in order to be teed up to be eligible to participate in these advanced modules. The advanced modules are going to be limited in size, and we'll talk about that later. But there's going to be throughout this whole year all kinds of materials for anyone to look at on demand when it suits you. And then we're here at NFCB to help you with whatever you might be thinking about or questioning. So we're really trying to move towards all of this being totally accessible to everyone. But as you can well imagine, facilitators need to know how many people are going to be in a group. So we did have to set a number there. 10 stations, 2 participants at each station, as we've done in the past for both advanced modules. Whoa. Okay. So what we are targeting throughout this is 4 hours per month of your time, with 2 hours reserved for the active sessions. And it was really important for us to strike that balance of not having people feeling like you're being punished for doing going above and beyond and trying to keep your busy jobs. So we've really tried to keep that in mind. Our sessions include these on-demand materials, workshops, small group meetings, and coaching. Next, Lisa. Let's start with the Circle of Engagement module. This is open to all member stations at NFCB. And first of all, you should know that I'm going to lead this module with the NFCB staff. It'll be a cohort program focused on strategic planning. We'll get to more of that in the slides I'm going to show. The key concepts of the module will be presented January through March of 2023. On-demand sessions, as I mentioned, which you'll be able to access on the website, on our portal. and small groups. All of this will be, you'll have help being organized and scheduled and communicating with one another through Sally Hardy, our project manager. And then with this circle of engagement module, one-on-one coaching in April and May. Small groups will pick up after our conference. So in July through September, we'll continue this coaching element in small groups. And then in October, we're going to celebrate what people have been able to do with this module and regroup it and wrap it up. So that's the general flow, and you're going to see that repeated with the advanced modules in different timeframes. Again, we're staggering these so that we can make sure that if you are at a station and you want to do this all year long with us, that you're able to do that and we're not overstretching. Here's the circle of engagement module. I'm sure most of you have seen it. This beginning opening module is open to anyone who's an NFCB member. You do not have to be a CSG grantee in order to do this. If you are an alumni of the Community Counts Initiative, you can skip this or you can repeat it. It's up to you. If you are an alumni, you're automatically eligible to reach out to us and see if it's a good fit for you to continue with the advanced modules. This module is, or this tool, the Circle of Engagement, was developed as a model for leading change. And Lisa, you can go back one, please. Just had a couple more things to say. You notice by the shape of it that it's non-siloed, that we place organizational capacity at the center. It's been tested within the Community Counts Initiative over 5 years. I've used it at other member stations around the country when they reach out to me to do some strategic planning. This is the model we use to help organize our process. And at NFCB, we used it for our strategic plan. So I'm pretty excited about it, and people have given us great feedback about it. Moving on to the next slide, Lisa. Thank you. I just want to talk about how does it work? And basically the circle of engagement is there in the middle. What we start with in terms of foundation for change, what we're talking about is, what do we have at the station? What are you standing on? What do you want? What are you proud of? What are you reaching for? All of that helps us understand what's the foundation upon which you are moving into this work. And then of course we move through the wheel of the circle of engagement with you. And we organize a strategic framework building structure that the inquiry starts to happen within. And the ultimate goal, of course, is really being concise and clear and compelling about your vision for a new reality. This is not a one-size-fits-all. It's designed to be customized. It's designed to take you where you are at your station. It's designed to build on what you're proud of. It is not a bucket list of things you should do from stations and organizations that are larger than yours and that have more resources than yours. We were very clear about this. Ultimately, the circle of engagement sets the agenda to propel you forward from where your current assets and foundation exist towards your vision of a new reality. And we just help structure that in the center with our model. And next. In this slide, I just wanted to capture for you, if you look quickly at the bottom, you'll see those 4 areas correspond to our circle of engagement model. This is NFCB's strategic framework that we use the model to develop. We're now in our 3rd year of our strategic framework, and we will be refining and redoing our process throughout 2023 as well. But I just wanted to show you that we came up with our 4 major goals and focus areas by using the circle of engagement model. And that's what you see there along the bottom. What I like about it too is that you can really take a strategic plan and you can make a 1-pager in graphic representation that communicates very swiftly and very clearly to various constituencies that you're wanting to talk to, whether it's outside facilitators you're bringing in, donors, other radio stations, your board, this is a really good tool for that. And next, Lisa. A brief note from me about a strategic planning process. The reason it comes before the product is because arguably the process is more important than anything else. The elements in this process, you want great data and analysis. We're going to talk with you through that first module about how we get that, and we do it economically. We understand that nobody has tens of thousands of dollars to spend on this, but this is how you build your objective case. A great process also is characterized by great conversations. It's the building of relationship and common commitment that really makes this work powerful. And so we write it in as part of the process so that people don't focus immediately on, we want the plan, we just want to see the written plan, because it's about how you communicate with one another getting there that makes that even relevant. And finally, it's a clarity. A process should provide clarity of strategic thinking. And in that, challenging old assumptions, building a compelling path forward, basing that on data and also on, the fruits of really deep thinking about these things. What we're really trying to provide you in the Community Counts Initiative is breathing room to think about things in a safe and supported environment, and to continue throughout the year with support from your peers and from knowledge experts around the country, so that you can make informed decisions and plan in a timeline that'll allow you to get something done, but also to sustain it and to keep yourselves in good shape in terms of wellness. And all of this comes from many years of experience in the field and watching nonprofit leaders get a lot of responsibility placed on them to do these things quickly, or to do them in a vacuum, or to have way too many things that you can possibly accomplish, and then subsequently feel overwhelmed and not feel a sense of achieving something. So that's what our process is all about. And then my last slide here about the product. So a good strategic framework includes a statement of your identity. That's your mission, your values, the story of some of your history and its importance. It includes innovation and imagination. So it gives people a real clear vision of how do you see the work you do at your station, in your community, in the world. It gives you a clear direction forward. So it helps you establish strategic priorities and objectives. And we go all into detail about what the difference between a goal and an objective is, and how those strategic priorities can be developed. We help you break up into committee groups in your organization so that you can have these conversations. And then a good strategic plan gives you a path. This is where we get into goals, an actionable plan, and key performance indicators. In other words, how are you going to measure that you've made some progress along the way? A good strategic plan also provides a story, and that is important to recruit people to your cause, your movement, your work, to retain the interest of people by them having a place they can return to in story. And since we're in radio, we all know how important that is, and helps you sustain a sense of ownership of it. This is our story. This is where we're going. At NFCB, we really wanted to pivot from mirroring the culture of a community radio station to becoming thought leaders in the field of community radio. That story and how we've done that circulates around almost every meeting we're in and helps us sustain our interest. So that's a very clear example of how that happens. And the next slide, without further ado, I want to introduce our colleagues, Russ and Jerry, and they are going to talk to you about the advanced module that they will be leading for CCI, Dynamic Community Governance, Sociocracy Model. And as you can see on the notes, it's open to CCI alumni or active Circle of Engagement module participants. station and board leadership teams. So we want the 2 people from the station, we want a board member, and ideally it's your leader of your board. If your leader's transitioning off, maybe your interim, and up to 12 stations will be selected. We'll talk more about that at the end, but just wanted to put that out in the beginning. And Russ and Jerry.
Very good. Thank you very much, Sally, and hello, everyone. I'm glad you're here today, and thank you for having us. Next slide, I think. I'm Russ White, and as the principal consultant at SCG Nonprofits, I get to work with board and executive leaders like you who want their boards to act with more skill and greater confidence on goals that matter. And this with me is my colleague, Jerry Koch-Gonzalez.
So I'm Jerry. I'm one of the founders and coaches at Sociocracy for All. We are an international member-run nonprofit promoting effective, egalitarian self-governance worldwide. Sociocracy for All trains and consults with a variety of small to large organizations, including worker cooperatives, intentional communities, for-profits, nonprofits, independent schools, and social change, social service organizations. And you can, I think, go on a couple of slides here.
One more.
And here, one up. Now I'm losing, yeah, there you go. So you can learn more about our 2 consultancies with the links on this screen and that maybe are in the chat. Okay, and go to the next slide.
So your colleagues at NFCB have invited us to invite you to learn about a self-governance system called dynamic governance, also known as sociocracy. Next slide. In practice, dynamic community governance or sociocracy is a way to make better decisions and to enhance community communication and transparency throughout your organization at the board level, at the staff level, and with volunteers. And Jerry and I are going to facilitate one of the CCI advanced modules in 2023. Next slide. By the end of our module, you will have learned the core concepts of the sociocratic model, experimented with those concepts in your station, and seen firsthand how the model might enhance your work personally and as an organization. Next slide.
So the project offers 4 phases of learning: a general introduction, experiential learning in facilitated small groups, capacity building via pilot projects, and then a culminating presentation of the pilot project learnings and aspirations. From the beginning of the module to the end, Russ and I will be alongside with you to offer coaching and guidance specific to what you are learning and working on. And next slide.
So the first phase, it's a general introduction to the topic of sociocracy as an organizing and governance model. And this phase, as Sally said, is open to all NFCB members, all participants. There's a 20-minute video that you watch on your own time online, and then you'll join with us and with your colleagues in a 1-hour virtual meeting to discuss the video and talk about any clarifying questions that you might have. Any board members and staff from NFCB stations are welcome to do this without any obligation or expectation from us that you continue on to the next phase. Next slide.
And so that next phase, phase 2, will take place in virtual small groups where you will learn by experience the core concepts of sociocracy. Much of the learning will be peer-to-peer with the teams from other stations. And we will also have coaching sessions along the way. This is where you will discover what you like about sociocracy as it compares to your current system of how you get things done. and probably identify a couple of areas where things could be better. Participation in this phase 2 is limited, as we've said, to the 2 key members of each of 12 stations. And next slide.
In June, we'll do a meetup at the annual conference in Denver. And then after that conference, we're going to make the transition from mostly learning to mostly doing. In phase 3, we're going to invite the team from each station to work on a pilot project in your station, something to let you experiment with how the model might make things better where you are. This could be training for your station community, could be improvements in decision-making, or advising your organizational structure. Each project is probably going to be unique and will be coached by Jerry and me. Next slide.
And finally, phase 4 will be the conclusion of the project. We'll host a virtual session where we can all share what we've learned in our pilot projects, celebrate how far we've come, and envision the continuing evolution of our work. And next slide.
And Lisa, we'll just kind of roll through the next few slides. I think you'll get that as we go. But your organization is going to learn and benefit from the sociocratic approach in ways that we really can't anticipate. But based on what we've seen in other organizations, you can expect that this approach is going to support your communication and decision-making central to public safety, education, and civic responsibility, to enhance the organizational capacity, which is central to the circle of engagement model you're working with, to express equity and inclusion throughout your organization, whether you're just beginning to consider DEIB or you're fully engaged in expressing that in your policies and your processes. And it's going to allow your organization to lead and collaborate more effectively within the local community. Next slide. So from our perspective and experience, you're doing work that matters, and we're delighted to be able to come alongside. When you have a moment, go to the link that's on your screen now or that's in the chat box and check out that short introductory video. Then we'll get back together after the first of the year, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Russ. And just a brief thing to insert here, folks. The reason that you see dynamic community governance, sociocracy, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in CCI this year as an integral part of everything we're doing is because, A, we believe DEIB work has to be in every aspect of the work you do at a nonprofit. It's not something on the side. It is the entree, okay? And the other piece of dynamic community governance is that for years, I have been working with boards. It's always the same thing. Here's the 10 responsibilities of a board member, and the same kinds of issues come up. And when I discovered this model, and Russ and Jerry, I decided that this is a new, fresh approach that really fits well with community stations. And I really think some of the main benefits you're going to get out of it is that it's quite structured, but it also really values every person's input. And so meetings being run better, being able to hold people accountable without as much conflict, or with ways of resolving conflict when it comes up. These are problems that I've seen again and again and again. So that's why. And without further ado, I want to introduce our colleagues from the Equity Project and tell you that this is open to CCI alumni, and that the key concepts of this particular module will be June through September. Go back, please, Lisa. That was too fast for me. Pre-conference intensive session will happen at the conference. There'll be monthly workshops in August and September, and then we'll move into one-on-one coaching in October. And again, celebrate, regroup, wrap up, see what we've learned, see where we want to go next in November. So again, we've staggered these. Circle of engagement begins, runs throughout. Then you have the dynamic community governance. Then you have diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging modules. Throughout the year as well, we're going to do the public safety thing. But I just wanted to let you know how this is going to flow and assure you that we've spent a good deal of time, and it's quite a lot of moving parts here to figure out how to not bring too much onto your plates at once. That's why we're doing it this way. So next slide now. The equity project team. And
All right.
Turn it over to Ariana.
All right, thank you so much, Sally. We are really excited to be here. I'm Ariana Flores. I am one of the consultants at the Equity Project and have been working with organizations, clients, and local governments for several years now around what we call operationalizing equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging into everyone's work. Because as Sally just said, it is not a side dish. It is the entree. It is something that should be infused through all of your work. And my colleague on the call, Hannah, will also introduce herself, and then we will present what our module will look like.
Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. My name is Hannah Galgiani. I'm Manager of Projects and Engagement here at the Equity Project. I will be working very closely with Ariana throughout this process as one of your main points of contact, helping kind of in the background and putting together these modules. And you might see me drop in here and there, but look at me as a resource and excited to be here today.
Okay. And Lisa, am I advancing my slides or do you have our slides up?
Y'all are doing your slides.
Okay, then I need you to stop sharing so that I can share mine. Perfect. Okay, and I think you can see that.
Yep.
Great.
Perfect.
All right, so diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. As Sally said, our module will follow the Sociocracy for All module. And I wanted to take some time today to tell you a little bit about our organization, our approach, and what you can expect within our module throughout the months that we'll be working together. So the first thing I wanted to tell you is that the Equity Project is really an organization that prides itself on tailoring our approach and the ways in which we work to whatever it is that our clients, in this case, you, the stations that participate in the module, whatever it is that you will need. We aren't interested in sort of just giving you a one-size-fits-all fix for the issues that you're grappling with. We recognize that you are unique and that the questions and challenges that you are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, both within the DEIB space specifically, as well as other issues that you might be confronting day-to-day, that those are complicated and that they're specific to your own station's experience. And so when we work together, we are looking to really fine-tune an approach that makes sense for you. That said, at the Equity Project, we do really lean on the best practices within the field, and we have tremendous experience on our team. In addition to Hannah and I, we have 4 other team members who have a combined experience of over 100 years of problem-solving expertise within this space. And we have worked with, at this point, dozens, over 250 unique clients of various sectors, various sizes, and we are very well attuned to the trends within this space and are constantly looking to learn ourselves and keep abreast of the various issues and things that are happening within the field. More than anything, we recognize that this work can be difficult and that for a lot of people, individuals are bringing their own baggage into the space. As I like to call it, we've all had conversations around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging that probably haven't gone so well. And as we enter new conversations, that can feel daunting, that can feel overwhelming. And so at the Equity Project, our central tenet is that we create and maintain spaces filled with grace. And that means that while we are very open and encouraging of having quote unquote difficult conversations, we also don't want anyone to feel as though you should be entering a space with all the answers, or that we are assuming you to have a certain base level of knowledge or experience within this work. As I said before, we're really trying to meet you where it is you're at. I wanted to tell you a little bit about our values at the Equity Project to give you a sense of what it would be like to work with us. So the first one there is equity and justice. So we are driven really by wanting to create equitable outcomes within your organization, within your day-to-day practices. And that means being open to doing things differently. That means being open to pivoting from time to time and having sort of that flexibility with the ideals of equity and justice at the forefront at all times. We employ a growth mindset internally, and we expect the same from our clients, recognizing that in order for transformative change to take hold, you have to think through how you are going to be growing, how you are going to be changing, and that with that change individually will come your stations, processes, and practices. Along with that, we are really focused on systems. So the real way to make this work real and to institutionalize it, to make it sustainable for the long term, is to focus on changing the systems and processes and the ways in which you operate on a day-to-day level. That is really where that infusion of DEIB into all of your systems will take place. And that's how transformative change happens. We're extremely collaborative and really value the relationships that we have with our clients. Over and over again, we have clients who return to us, who want to come back and do deeper work. And we really attribute that to the depth of the relationships that we're able to develop with the organizations with whom we partner. And then the last one there is humble expertise. We commit to a posture of learning, listening, feedback, and growth. So we are considered the experts in this field, and yet we are constantly learning and growing. And so as we are learning along with you, we will be deepening our own expertise and recognizing that we don't have all the answers. And in that process can hopefully come to a place of creative solution building alongside you and the stations with whom we work in this module. So a little bit about the actual module that we'll be doing as part of the Community Counts initiative. We really wanted to, as Sally said, we've been working with NFCB to develop a space for people to learn and discuss, to really learn from that peer model of being able to lean on one another and to both leverage their own expertise for the other organizations that will be part of the cohort, as well as strengthening your own individual capacity at the station level. And we will be focusing on how to integrate these principles into the various aspects of your day-to-day work. We are seeking to work with organizations that do have that strong foundational understanding, but have maybe gotten to a place where your DEIB work has plateaued, or perhaps you're grappling with new challenges that you haven't quite figured out how to address yet. And so we are really excited to partner with stations that are looking to do something, to move to that place of action. And we will be employing a series of different formats. We will have the luxury of beginning the cohort in person and through a live workshop, as well as webinars and Zoom in-person workshops. We'll do a lot of individual coaching as well as some group work together. And so the proposed timeline that we have is to build on that shared language and framework together, really start to collaborate and build relationships in person at that June conference. Then we will lead a series of engagements via Zoom where we're going through and identifying what are those common challenges, what are those unique challenges, and how can we set ourselves up for that individual coaching aspect of the module. And hopefully by the end of the year, we will culminate in some action steps that every station within the cohort will be able to take in 2024. And so with that taste of our work together, I am really looking forward to getting to know the applicants who are interested in this work and hopefully working together very soon.
Thank you, Ariana. Thank you, Hannah.
For sure.
I think you can all see what a rich resource we have here with this program. And I think, let's see, stop share, and then we'll,
yeah, there we go.
oh, great. Thank you. We're just thrilled, and I want to let everyone know that this is literally tens of thousands of dollars coming in to NFCB in order to bring these resources to you. We know that you don't afford to do that in your budgets, and you work very hard to bring the money in just to run the station. So this is for you. And it's all been designed. We've had lots of conversations with everybody about taking you where you are, about really approaching this from sort of an appreciation inquiry point of view, which is what do you care about? What are you reaching for? And then really backing that up with small groups and coaching. The last iteration of CCI happened during the pandemic, and we all hit walls with just big, large groups on screens. So this is meant to do that. And this is the final component of CCI 2023. Next slide. It's open to all member stations, and you can go ahead and bring the bullet points up. It'll be led by the NFCB staff. We've put together a public safety content advisory team that's going to be going over everything we curate. And we're going to launch this hub in March of 2023 and keep building on it all year. It'll live on our site. We'll have workshops, one in April, one in August, one in October. Again, you'll see the timelines are confusing, but they are staggered. And the small group meetups will happen in between those, May, September, and November. The toolkit will be updated with workshops and small group content as we move along. Why? Because in the last 5 years, we've been all over the country visiting stations. And one of the things that has come up that is undeniable is that climate adaptation is happening. And lots of our travel stuff has been, changed because of wildfires and floods and drought, and also human generated public safety emergencies and earthquakes. Lee's reminding us from Alaska. So our thought here is that we need resources as community broadcasters. We're showing up increasingly as first responders in these environments, and we need templates, we need tools, we need shining examples of other stations and station leaders who've been on the front lines of this kind of work to share that around so that we can all be prepared. Next slide, Lisa. So I want to go into our next steps and how to participate. And for that, I'm going to pass the baton to our Community Council Initiative Project Manager, Sally Hardy.
Great. And Lisa, feel free to. So kind of these next steps, Sally's mentioned some of them already, which is really share the video, the slides, resources from this session with your station leadership, staff, your board. Really think about your priorities for next year. And in some cases, what's been helpful for our CCI alumni, it's to think about what you're going to take off your plate so that you can put something new and energizing on your plate. So prioritizing your time so that you could really take advantage of these wonderful resources. So, over the next few weeks, you have an opportunity to really kind of brainstorm and think through what you think you'd like to sign up for. And we know that this sometimes is not an easy process. So kind of the first thing that we ask you to do is kind of come up with an initial plan, have some questions, what may impact your ability to work on some of these modules or components for next year, and then bring those to what we're calling an interest interview. And so what that is, it's a half an hour, and it's with Sally Kane and myself. And it's really your time to kind of pick our brain and share your thoughts about kind of what you'd like to achieve, and whether you think that this might be a good match for you. And for those of you that are not CCI alumni, we kind of the first step in this is participating in the Circle of Engagement module. And then that once you've got that behind you, or if you're engaged, then you can think about the advanced modules as well in terms of the governance, dynamic community governance, or the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So we think that kind of one-on-one time has been really helpful. And you will have our full attention. Our goal, we have time this coming week, if you know immediately that and we've already heard from some folks that they're very interested, go ahead and email me and we can get you on our schedule. But then we're going to kind of take a break for the week of Thanksgiving. And then we've got 3 more weeks where once you email me, I'll be creating some doodle polls, and we will, we'll get together with you. And ideally what we'd like you to do is you have kind of your list of questions, and it's a team approach where as a station leader, you will come with someone from your board that's also, whether it's your board president or another key member of your board. So that's kind of what we've got planned for the next few weeks. We're really looking forward to meeting with you. So now we can kind of jump into Q&A.
Thank you, Sally. And I think let's just stop the screen share. Let's get the PowerPoint out of our faces and open up and see if there are folks who want to put anything in the chat. And thank you, Lisa, for a complex running through of slides. Thanks to our presenters for jumping in with us. Many of you might not be aware, but NFCB's just rolled off a 4-day board retreat and literally rolled into our homes on Sunday morning and jumped right into this. So we've been working hard and going hard, and I really appreciate that everybody's been patient. And so I just wonder if there are any questions. You can put them in the Q&A. Lisa, I'm not sure how it works, but I think we can unmute participants if they want to just join in and speak to anybody.
Yeah, if somebody wants to ask a question out loud, you can raise your hand and then we can unmute you. You can also ask your questions in the Q&A box. Either of those work.
While we're waiting to see if selected, do you go through all modules or choose? Okay, so great question, KP. Sally, you want to handle that one?
Sure. So if you haven't gone through CCI, or if you're not an alumni, then we would ask that you go through the Circle of Engagement, and then you can select either or both of the advanced modules. And that's kind of why it's so important for us to get to talk to you, get a sense of your ability to commit to the program for next year, because we're going to be balancing those numbers. We're going to be able to support 12 station teams in the governance module, and then 10 in the DEIB module.
Yeah, KP, and for all of you who are listening in today, the thing we really wanted to make sure of is that you feel good about what's going to be required, and are able to succeed in doing this, and that for the consultants that we've asked to devote their time and expertise to this, that they get the respect of having full participation of people who know what they're getting into. And the idea of the C circle of engagement first is that that's our tool here, that's our model here at NFCB, and we've tested it over 5 years at stations. So it's the piece where we sort of move from broadly nonprofit work and these two topic areas into, okay, but we're a radio station, right? So that's what grounds it at NFCB in how do you do this at a radio station? And that's why we want you to start with that, so that in the end, you have that model as a means of making a work plan for yourselves for the next year. Maybe you're going to plan a particular revenue related project, or maybe you are an organization needing a new strategic plan. So we've introduced a model that'll help you get there. We brought in 2 advanced modules that will definitely inform what kind of goals and objectives and tactics you might use to meet your mark in your strategic planning process. And we're really wanting to send a message to everyone that DEIB is the lens. It's not one you just put on sometimes. And also really wanting to send the message that governance at community radio stations is challenging. When it works, it's a beautiful thing. And when it doesn't, it can destroy your organization. So we're really looking for fresh approaches as to how you come together and communicate and meet and hold one another accountable and develop shared commitment to move the work of your organization forward. Those 2 things that's how all that's connected. All I can tell you is it comes from watching this for years. And this is something we're trying to bring together to give you a full package. And in the end, the circle of engagement stuff is really radio specific. That's going to dive into that. The public safety stuff is just something that over the past 5 years has become a central theme in so many of our organizations' lives. So we want to develop a good resource for you. So here we have from Q&A, our station university reports to our board of trustees. That board does not work closely with our station. Is board member participation required? And my answer to that is no. We understood that about university stations. We're looking for an advisor maybe, or another member of your staff to join you in that, but don't feel like you have to turn away from it because you're operating within a university structure.
And I would say the same is true for tribal licensees.
Right.
And that's part of this kind of interest interview. You know, everyone's situation is so unique, but we think it's important for there to be 2 people from the station, and that's how we have structured CCI in the past. We think it's absolutely wonderful if you have that board relationship, you have your president that can help with implementation. But if that's not your situation, please come to us and let's talk about it.
And this is also why we have really embraced coaching and small groups in this work. Mm-hmm. Because these are nuanced kinds of things. If you were on the Public Media for All webinar last week, you heard me say that beyond every barrier is a longing for something. And that's really the way I look at why do we identify barriers and why do we put our energy and our effort into overcoming them? And it's to reach something we're longing for. So what is that at your station? And it may well be zeroed in around content. It may be, but without the governance piece of it working smoothly, and without a lens of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, is my firm belief that we will not meet the mark as public media. So That's why we're bringing it to you that way. And we have so many tips and tricks around all of that. And, you know, as Russ pointed out, and as you heard from me, if you just want to have a general overview of sociocracy, dynamic community governance, and say, that was helpful, now I'm going to go do what I need to do, we might, you know, that's fine. There's no shame, no blame. We're putting this out there. We've scheduled it in such a way that it's staggered so that if you really want to go for it all year long, you can do it. And if you want to just do the circle of engagement piece, fine. But in order to do those advanced modules, we really want to give you that groundwork. And we really want to talk to you about it. And I think that might have concluded all of our questions. I don't see any in the chat. You've got the sociocracy video. Lisa will repackage a bunch of this, put it out on the listserv. We're going to be calling stations. If you have stations leaders you know who were not able to be here today, please let them know and put them in contact with us. And we're going to really work hard to get these groups identified so that January 2023, we're ready to roll with this exciting program. I can promise you it's going to be worth your time.
So there,
Jerry, yes.
I just want to say, you're here. I'm assuming that you love radio, and that's why you're here. And then when you think about going to meetings, you're like, oh, I love radio. I hate meetings. And part of my hope is that what we could offer is how can you come out of those meetings feeling more sense of energy, more hope, that the meetings give you energy rather than drain energy. And the way we want to, as we work at Sociocracy for All, it's about equality. Everyone's voice matters. And then that dovetails completely with DEIB of like, how do we really honor every voice in the room and welcome their full, and deep participation. So just encourage everybody to do everything you can and have fun with it.
Beautiful, Jerry. And there is a request in the chat. CCI alumni on the call, if anyone wants to pipe up in terms of how they pitched this work to their board. Thank you, Lee. Take care. She has to go now. Is there anyone, CCI alumni, how they pitched this to their board? If we're waiting for someone to put a hand up about that or let Lisa know that you can talk, I can tell you that I know anecdotally a big part of the pitching to the board was to say that these are leading initiatives in the field of public radio that small stations can often not afford to bring in the necessary expertise and help that they need. And this is a way of doing that and really building on your I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat and doing this, but building on your professionalism without having to blow your budget is one way that people were addressing boards. Mm-hmm. And another way to do that, to pitch to your boards, is let us know and let me get on Zoom with them. Let me pick up the phone and call your board president. Let me tell them more about what I see in the field of community radio and why we've developed this process. Matthew has a good question about the process sign up. Lisa, do you want to elaborate?
Sally messaged him and said that she will explain it via email. And then also Sally also added that into the chat for everybody else as well. If you're interested in an interest interview, you can email Sally, and that's the first step in this process.
For folks who've watched this, it used to be limited to CSG grantees because CPB was our funder and that was their requirement. We've worked hard to bring in the funding to make this open to all. And in that spirit, we also understood that an application process where we're just selecting based on the demographic of our membership doesn't quite get to the real conversation about, is there buy-in at your station? How much capacity do you have to do this? How can we help best support you over time in this work? So that's why we're saying, please email us and have these interest interviews. And for the sake of these consulting teams, we really want to get that done so that they can know who they're working with, because they're excited to get to know you and know what your stations are like. Mm-hmm. And as Ariana said, to meet you where you are and to help you move forward on this path. And
I'm going to just chime in one thing, which is as part of the circle of engagement, that module, we're going to set up kind of study groups with like participants. And then if some of those folks are going to move on to one or more of the advanced modules, we may have a study group that can move together. So just letting you know that that's a big part of this is your peer-to-peer relationships, your ability to network. That's kind of built in across the board and also into public safety in the toolkit with the meetups. But that's part of the reason too why we want to talk to you, kind of understand. You may not know or may be able to make a full commitment, but we're going to hold some slots so that for people that successfully engage in the circle of engagement module, and they feel like, yes, I get this, I can do this, that the potential for one or both of the advanced modules.
Thank you. And I want to say one thing about small group stuff. It is something you find time and put on your calendar, make a commitment to be there, but it's also something you get a lot of energy from.
Mm-hmm.
At the time of isolation, there's a lot of alienation going on. There are a lot of stressors coming in on people's lives, affecting their wellness and the way they approach their work. And we need each other. So having this set up takes it off your back to try and reach out and make that happen. We're scheduling for you. We're there with you. And we really want you to be energized by this work as much as you're putting energy into it. That's the really important piece to understand. I really want to thank the consulting teams that are on the call today for their time. I want to thank my team, Sally and Lisa and Gretchen, of course, in the ethers out there supporting us as a participant today. But you've all put a lot of thought and time into presenting, the modules you're bringing forward. It made a lot of sense to me, and I hope it makes sense to all of you. And I hope that if it didn't, you let us know. So we're going to let you go, get back to your days, your afternoons, and wish everyone well. And I also want to send a special note of concern and compassion and caring for WTJU on the campus of University of Virginia. Nathan was at our board retreat and took a red eye home. And as soon as he got home, there was a shooting on campus just 1 mile from the station. And the station volunteers there spent the night in the studio for a shelter-in-place order and kept on the air, taking calls from distressed students, providing comfort, playing music, keeping people informed about what was going on. And that's just another shining example of why you matter so much and why we have to stick together. So with that, I wish you all a great rest of your day and thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.